Not really. A lot of people think Ted is with us all the time, telling us what to do. But actually, at least in my case, he tells me, just go out there and do whatever I think is best. He sees nothing wrong with my swing, so I'm pretty much on my own.
Saw you hit one out of here the other day. That had to bring a smile to your face.
Yeah, that was great. As you know, I'm switch hitting down here this year, and I hit it out left-handed, and so that was a boost for my morale, right there. So left-handed swing is coming back, and it's looking pretty good.
Is this the first time that you tried to become a switch hitter?
I used to do it when I was younger, and then I gave it up a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago. Now I'm trying to go back to it so that I can get in there every day. Last year I was platooned, facing only left-handers, and I was only in the lineup maybe twice a week, and it's pretty tough to hit that way.
That's a little frustrating sitting on that bench too, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I did it in Detroit in '70, and then again last year, and so my ambition is to play as much as possible. I'd like to get into 162 games if I can.
What would you like to hit this year? What would be a realistic figure for you? I know 400, but
no, a realistic figure I think would be 280, somewhere along in there. But like I said, if I can get in there every day, the hits will automatically, start to come.
Jim, I hope it'll be able to accomplish what we really want the Chamber of Commerce to accomplish, and that is that we will bring to Fort Worth in an orderly fashion economic development, not just a sort of a catch-as-catch-can situation, but something which will really be of benefit to the economy, which will be a benefit to the industries which may come here, and which in general will make the quality of life and the economy of Fort Worth better than it's been before. Now, what we're doing is setting up a task force or an economic development council of about 15 of the top citizens in Fort Worth, in business and industry and the city government and county government. And we are asking them to coordinate with the North Texas Commission in bringing industry to Fort Worth, in finding out what Fort Worth best can offer to industry and to various businesses which may come here.
We're talking cold, hard facts, and I say the Attorney General of Texas has a lot of explaining to do. And he better start explaining it now if he can, because I'm going all over this state so that the public will judge this race on the right reasons.
Mr. Hill, are you saying that Attorney General Martin is directly involved in the Sharpstown Bank?
I'm saying this, that he was involved when he wrote that banking opinion, yes. He didn't have to write that opinion. The bank wasn't suffering for a domicile. It had a 10-story domicile. He didn't have to give Frank Sharp a leg up to let him bring a shopping center in under the guise of a domicile. Yes, he was involved right there we know in helping to lay the foundation. He's definitely involved with Frank Sharp. Now, we don't know what all they've talked about. Mr. Martin has not told us. He's never been under oath. I'm saying this. There's a definite, provable, substantial link beginning at least in '67 and going through at least December of 1969 between these two men.
The District Attorney's Office has asked the Dallas County Grand Jury to give special priority to the hot check case of a former DCA youth program worker named Bobby T. Watkins. The case was brought to the DA's attention by County Judge Lou Sterrett. It's no secret that Sterrett would like to see a federal grand jury investigation of the Dallas Anti-Poverty Agency, and this is the first time that a DCA worker has come under legal action. Last year, Watkins was appointed as the paid director of a tutoring project financed indirectly by the DCA. At that time, he was already charged with 2 misdemeanor hot check counts, but he was never prosecuted. As director of the tutoring program, Watkins was in charge of $5,000 in federal funds. He disappeared more than a month ago when delinquent bills and bad checks started turning up. He's reportedly someplace in California. The DA's office has more than 16 hot checks allegedly written by Watkins. 2 of them came out of the tutoring fund. If the grand jury issues a felony indictment as requested, then Watkins will be immediately extradited from California and brought back to Dallas for trial. In that case, both county and federal authorities will have a chance to conduct some of their own investigations. DCA watchers pose 2 questions. Why was Watkins ever hired to handle federal money when he was already charged with writing hot checks? And why is Judge Sterrett taking such a special interest in Watkins? That last question comes easy. Watkins could provide a springing board for taking some more hard legal looks at other more powerful DCA officials. Martha McIntyre, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Chicanos are organizing to break from the Democratic Party, which has misrepresented them for so long. Along with La Raza Unida Party, we call for the abolition of the Texas Rangers, which is becoming one of the most excitable demands in the campaign. We support the right of working people in Texas, including government employees, to organize, to bargain collectively, and to strike, and we call for the repeal of the so-called right-to-work laws.
Ms. Leonard, may I ask how closely associated the Socialist Workers' Party is with the Communist Party USA?
As a matter of fact, not at all. On a national scale, we are running 2 candidates, Linda Jenness for president, Andrew Pulley for vice president. The Communist Party is running Gus Hall for president and another candidate for vice president. We disagree, unfortunately, in some ways, on more things than we agree upon, I'm afraid.
Well, I'd like to stimulate them and motivate them and make them more aware of the relationship of politics to business. I want to focus into them that government is the biggest business in America today, and government is owned by big business. And if government is to respond to their wishes, to their needs, then especially in this election year, they must become greatly involved in the total political process of this nation. The 70s must be the era or the decade when we achieve political and economic empowerment. I think the 60s was a decade when we had to fight for our basic rights to vote, to sit at a lunch counter, to sit in a bus. But now the focus is on owning that bus, owning that restaurant, and using the vote to make it respond to our needs.
people in this country could get together on their opposition to some of the very fundamental questions. We do work not only with supporters of the Communist Party, but with all groups that are interested in common efforts like the anti-war movement and the women's movement and so forth.
Are you saying, Ms. Leonard, then, that you are in favor of dispensing with the free enterprise system?
Yes, we are. We don't think that the free enterprise system even entails competition any longer. It's a monopoly system, it's a corporate profit system, it's a system that works against the interests of the majority of people and promotes policies such as the war in Southeast Asia, such as racism, such as sexism, which I think are a part and parcel of its economic functioning.
Over 100 spectators crowded into the courtroom this morning. This is the first time this much interest has been shown in the 12-day-old trial in Abilene. Most even waited through the hour-and-a-half delay before court went into session while the charge to the jury was being prepared. It took almost 30 minutes for the judge to read the 12-page complicated document. The charge instructs the jury that a person cannot conspire with himself, that they must find at least 2 of the defendants guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, or none at all. Then the final arguments began. Each side has 4 hours of the jury's attention. Harold Jacquet presented the first arguments for the state. Dramatically whispering at certain points, the young Austin attorney emphasized the time schedule involved in the alleged conspiracy and called Frank Sharp an accomplice in the crime. Jacquet said the case was the most important one ever to go to a jury in the state of Texas. Each of the 9 attorneys told his impression of the testimony as the spectators carefully watched the faces of the 8 women and 4 men on the jury, trying to speculate on this outcome of this important chapter of the great stock fraud scandal of Texas. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judy Hanna at the Taylor County Courthouse. The jury walked into the courthouse at 8:30 this morning to begin deliberations on the guilt or innocence of Gus Mutcher and associates. Mutcher himself appeared quite confident as he posed for photographers on the courthouse steps, but there were no lack of omens surrounding the day. It was the 13th day of the trial. It fell on the Ides of March, and dark clouds covered the sky. 2 hours and 20 minutes later, the jury found Speaker Mutcher, Fort Worth Representative Tommy Shannon, and aide Rush McGinty guilty of conspiracy to accept a bribe. After the verdict was read, the highest state official ever to be convicted of a felony broke down and cried. Court bailiffs hustled Mutcher and his wife, the former Miss America, through a herd of photographers, and his only comment was unbelievable. Defense attorneys say they'll appeal.
Good job. Well done. Number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All the way down. And the right hand. And the left. And underneath. And up. And up. In front of you. In front of you. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Left, right, up, right, down, left, up, right, down, left, up, left, down, right, up, left, down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Kick back. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And over 1. And a 7. And a 1. And a 8. And a 1. And a 9. And a 1. 5, 6, 7, 8. And up. Inhale. Left, right, off. Inhale. All right, your right hand to the left. out 10. And a 1. And a 2. Get it, George. One more good one. One more real good one. Very good. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
The new decor around some areas of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare offices in the federal building include conspicuous no smoking signs and, more conspicuously, the lack of ashtrays. In line with a recent directive from HEW Secretary Elliot Richardson, no smoking areas have been set aside in the cafeterias, smoking is completely off limits in the conference rooms and auditorium, and no smoking work areas have been established. It's apparently designed to cut down on pollution and the infringement and annoyance of smoke to non-smokers. It is, however, allowed that you may smoke in corridors, lobbies, and restrooms. How do the employees feel about the new guidelines?
This reminds me a little bit of the days of Prohibition. I think this, too, will pass.
Having once been a smoker, I never realized how offensive it was to non-smokers. Now, as a non-smoker, I'm glad that this is in effect.
I'd like to propose that we have separate meeting rooms for those people that smoke and those that don't smoke.
I quit smoking in 1965 after smoking for 20 years. I'll be glad for no other reason that the cigar smokers will now have to go back to their offices and smoke their cigars. I can put up with cigarettes.
I think the smoking ban is a pretty good idea. I've been thinking of stopping smoking for some time now, so it's an added incentive to do so.
As a non-smoker, I think it's a good directive. Cigarette smoke irritates my allergy.
It should be noted here that the Surgeon General is under the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, and this warning appears on all cigarette packages. The Surgeon General has determined that cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health. It appears that one government agency, at least, has decided to practice what it preaches. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News, on the move at the old Federal Building.
Hopefully we can establish a Human Relations Council that would, so that it wouldn't have to be such a blow-up as, you know, the way it is now. That if a student has a particular grievance, he can take it to this council where they would investigate and they would act as more of an investigative organization.
Jerry, is there a lack of communication between the students and the administration at TWU?
Well, I think this fact is evidenced by what has happened. Maybe what is needed is maybe more effective use of the lines of communication. Maybe that's the problem. Or, but something is lacking. I don't know exactly what, but that's what we're going to get together to find out.
Dallas Record Systems. The number is 747-5311. Well, I applied for a job at a telephone company, and I left a vacant to preference the type of job I wanted. And they called me down one day and said, would I like to be a telephone operator? And I said, okay, I need a job. So anything except, you know, I think this job is all right, and I like it.
How are the girls accepting you?
Well, they accept me as just, as I can say, as one of the girls.
How do you like working in a room full of girls?
It's all right. It's all right.
What does your wife think about you working in a room full of girls?
She doesn't think too highly of it, no. She, no objections, really. It's something new.
And how are you accepted here?
Very well. Very well. There's, I haven't seen any complications at all. It's been very nice to me.
Do you feel like a trailblazer?
No. Just a man looking for a job.
much.
If these problems and some solutions are brought to the public, usually the public reacts, either in favor or against. And what we have done is try to find what the problems are and ask parents, teachers, and students for proposed solutions. They felt that this is what should be done. Once the people are provided with some alternative to help make our schools become what they feel should be quality schools, I think they'll unite behind any effort that's going to improve the schools, period.
It was bound to happen sometime. The first phone operators were men, and now when you call information in Dallas, you might just catch that voice. It belongs to Lanham Odom, one of Southwest Bell's first two male telephone operators in the city. The other one is Edwin Jordan, who has much in common with Odom. For example, both are 22 years old, both are Vietnam veterans, but they give different reasons for becoming telephone operators. Odom says he was looking for a job that would leave him free to go to school.
I will present evidence to the committee that the tools that have commonly been used by the courts and others to implement the Brown 1 and 2 desegregation decisions have not been effective in increasing the quality of an education, nor have they been effective in moving us toward a confluence of cultures.
Have they in fact been doing the reverse?
Yes, we do have some evidence to suggest that rather than increasing quality, the reverse has been true. They have decreased the quality of education that's been provided. In addition to this, rather than moving toward cultural pluralism, they have further polarized our community and our country.
For the first time in this report, the DISD admits that there is some white flight. What indication do you have to support it?
Well, we have, one, the evidence from other school districts. 16,000 white students have left the Miami school system. 8,000 students have left Nashville. Here in the city of Dallas, we have about a 5% decrease. 4,000 to 5,000 students have left our elementary schools as a result